Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaveryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. After giving the logic and reason for action, Arjuna was not stirring. He had collapsed, as you know, and he would not plunge into action. So, when the logic and reason were given, he still did not move. Therefore, yesterday we learnt how he gave 6 appeals, emotional appeals for him to start action. And the assumption is that after that he must have reacted, and therefore Krishna starts this sermon on action with the technique of right action. What is action? Or how to act? Now, it's very important for each one of you. Now the problem is that every one of you believe that you know how to act. Even after meeting certain consequences, even then you're not convinced. You're so sure of yourself. That is the problem. Joss Billings, a great thinker, he says, the problem with mankind is not so much their ignorance as their knowing as many things which ain't so. I'm quoting him. The problem with mankind is not their ignorance, but their knowing as many things which ain't so, which is not so. Now you believe you know it. There is nothing any master can do, anybody can do, because I know everything. The first sign of education is your humility to say, I don't know, let me learn. So therefore Shakespeare says, give thy ear unto all, but few thy voice. Now we give voice to everybody. Then this is a typical quality of human beings, particularly in our country. The other countries, they listen at least. Now, so you must learn that art of listening. Now keep your ideas. I'm not saying you should change, but listen to somebody who's talking. But our tendency is, I know. That's what Joss Billing says. So therefore, Arjuna had to be educated from scratch. And appeal after appeal is making intellectual, nothing is happening. And then he made the emotional appeal. And since he found some reaction, he started talking. And the first thing he says, look here, whatever people are doing, everybody is working in a selfish attitude, self-centered. They're attached to their actions. Same thing you must do without attachment. That is the advice he gives. Whatever you do, you must learn to do without attachment to the action itself. And then comes the attachment to the fruit of action. You want to get something out of the action. Plain and simple, if you are able to function by merely action, just perform action, you will be performing the best of actions and you will be evolving. So whatever you do, perform it without attachment. And then the last verse, 26th verse that we did yesterday, he says, whatever you learned, Don't be too enthusiastic to pass it on to others who are not qualified to listen. It's not that you should keep this knowledge to yourself. This knowledge is meant for propagation. But you must carefully find out that there is a recipient before you start talking. Otherwise, you'll be unsettling the minds of others. Unsettling the minds of others in the sense they are not yet prepared for receiving your message. And you download it. You offload it, and they're not able to take it. So it'll have a negative reaction. So therefore, then he said, what should one do? You must render yourself, your actions must be attractive. By merely observing, other people observing, it said, they learn. And then they will come to you and say, how do you do this? So, don't unsettle the minds of the ignorant who are attached to action. Set the example and leave it for them to follow. 27. Actions in all cases are performed by the gunas. Gunas, qualities. There are 3 gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. I think I've already explained to you. These gunas belong to matter, not to the Atman. The Atman has no gunas. Like the engine has horsepower. Petrol has no horsepower, but without petrol no car moves. But it's the engine that determines the horsepower. From a mini car to the most powerful car, the engines are responsible for the performance, not petrol. Petrol is the prime mover, but it has nothing to do with the qualities of the movement. Similarly, he says, in all actions, it is the gunas that are functioning, are performed by the gunas, but persons are deluded by egoism to believe that the Atman is functioning, that I am the doer. The Atman is never the doer. Atman doesn't perform. So therefore, you must understand the chronology of action. I've told you already. A vasana produces a thought produces a desire, and desire produces action correspondingly. So the whole thing arises out of the vasana, which is matter. So whatever your constitution of the matter is, that expression you'll have. The self is never the doer. Remember the example of petrol. So every class for the last many, many years have given the same example. And I can't think of a better example to drive home the point of God. How does God function? Now each one of you have got strange concept of what God is. Now keep that with you. But you can't explain. When somebody questions, you won't be able to explain. People say God created the world. If God has created the world, what a mess He has made. High time somebody else takes charge. What a mess. There's more sorrow, more misery in this world, and you say He created it. Huh? And some people are very happy that some good things have happened. Swamiji, thank God, my business is going very well, or my children are all settled. So you thank God. As if God has given you that benefits. benevolence. Another person says, God has been very unkind to me. So we loosely pass this remark. Now friends, if you carefully analyze, God has nothing to do with all this. You make yourself, you mar yourself. It's your own creation. At the level of the mind and intellect, not at the level of the Atman. And how the Atman, the self, functions, I know I've said this time and again, and if you understand that, you've understood the deepest philosophy. What is the role of God in our lives? Atman in you, the self in you, functions like petrol in a car. Now, I give you 3 points of comparison. And if you combine all three, you get a clear idea. The first point is, no vehicle moves without petrol. All of you come by private transport or public transport, it doesn't matter, but no vehicle can move without petrol, without a fuel. But the fuel has no desire to go to the lectures, nor has it a desire to avoid the lectures. So if you had asked the petrol tank, open the petrol tank, do you like to come to the lectures? No answer. Then you're worried. Have you any objection? No answer. Petrol neither wants to come here nor avoids coming here, but without petrol you could not have come here. No movement of the vehicle is possible. Similarly, all activities take place in us. Different types of activities. I'm speaking to you now. This activity will not be possible without the Atman functioning in me. You are listening to me, and that listening will not be possible without the Atman functioning in you. This is at the physical level. Acting, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. All these are going on. Also, the mind is functioning with emotions. I feel various emotions. Joy, sorrow, anger, passion, affection, all these are emotions at the level of the mind. And none of these emotions can be felt without the Atman. Then my intellect is conceiving various thoughts and ideas. Again, this is not possible without the Atman. So there is functioning actions going on at the physical level, at the mental level, at the intellectual level. All three levels activities are possible because of the Atman. But the Atman has nothing to do with acting or perceiving, feeling or thinking. It doesn't want to perceive or feel or think. Just as your petrol in the car doesn't want to do anything. But without it, nothing happens, number one. Number two, in a mini car, the performance is small. In a medium car, the performance is medium. In a powerful car, the performance is powerful. But the petrol in all the three cars are one and the same. But the expressions are all different. Similarly, friends, there are people who are living almost like animals in the woods, in the aboriginals. There's still some people left, totally uncivilized, uneducated people. They are also human beings, like any one of us. And then there are people who are running around like you people everywhere, normal, which you call as normal. And then there are outstanding human beings, like Shakespeare or Milton or Wordsworth or the great sages and saints, outstanding people. The Atman that functions in the uneducated, uncivilized person is the same Atman functioning in you, is the same Atman functioning in outstanding sages and saints. Just as petrol is the same in all three types of cars. It fits in so beautifully. Second point. Third point. One car goes down an embankment and crashes. Another car goes home safely. But there is no such thing as accident petrol or safe petrol. And yet, if the car had run out of petrol just a few meters away, the people would have been saved. Similarly, one person is a terrorist, destroying innocent people. Another person saves lives. He goes out of the way to save lives of people. Very sacrificial, very beneficial. Here's one person destroying, another person so benevolent. The Atman, both of them the same. Just as petrol destroys in an accident and saves in an ambulance car. If you combine all three, you get an idea of how God functions. And not in the way that you conceive. You've got your own definition of God. This is not my definition. So you don't barter and say, okay, your definition, my definition. This is the definition laid down by galaxy of sages and saints thousands of years back in the Vedas, in the Upanishads. So it's not something new. And you can verify and find out through these examples. This is how it functions. Otherwise, you're giving a motive to Atman. You're limiting it, you're constricting it, you're restricting it. Atman is not a restricted entity like that. So, he who thinks the deluded, the person who is confused, Vimudatma. Vimudatma means totally confused fellow. Mudatma means, you understand, fool. Vimudatma means doctorate in fool. You understand? PhD. Now, frankly, I didn't know how to explain to the public. Unfortunately, I had an experience with somebody. Then I knew what a Vimudatma is. You also won't know what Vimudatma. Mudatma we understand, which is, just look at the mirror, you find out. Mudatma is very simple. Vimudatma is what? Sir, I give a simple example. It happened on one of the trips abroad. A person, when you close the door, you put the hand and the finger gets jammed. What is your reaction? Somebody puts the finger there. Normally you come and close the door. You don't examine who are there, what are there. You just close the door and go. And some fellow puts his hand there. What do you say? It may be your own children. It could be a friend. What is your first reaction? Sorry is also correct. But for first reaction, especially if you are somebody close to you, what do you say? Because you are so upset that thing happened, you close the jam, hurt yourself. Hey, what is the first reaction? What do you say? Now, I can't experiment to come there, I'll close the hand and go. You must imagine at least that much. Huh? A Lord and a Master, that comes later. First reaction. Huh? You, next time anybody happens, first day, especially the close people say, oh, mad, are you stupid? Fool you are to put the finger. First reaction is that. Maybe your own child, how could be such a fool? You put your finger in the car which is closing door. This is the normal reaction. You find out, you must be observant and say, first reaction, then you may say, yo, Amma, and then do whatever it is. But this person that I met, a lady, a girl, put her finger and closed the door. She herself closed the door. This is Vimudatma. If you put the finger when somebody closes, it is Mudatma. You put the finger and you yourself close means Vimudatma. It's a colossal fool. So, such a fellow can't think, he only thinks that the Atman is the doer. Atman is not the doer. Tattvavit. O Mahabaho, Arjuna, a person who has the true insight, Tattvavit. Vit in Sanskrit is equivalent to smith in English. Goldsmith, silversmith, coppersmith. Smith is a person who knows about gold, knowledge. Vit also has the same meaning as smith in English. He says, Tattvavit. Tattva means the real essence of your personality. A person who knows wholly about himself. So Tattvavit refers to the human being who has understood himself. You all understand that also partially, your physical body, mind and intellect. But you know not yourself. The self is the quintessence of your personality. He who has understood the self. It means an enlightened person. That's what it means in the context. Tattvavit. A Tattvavit who has an insight into the distinctions of the gunas and actions. He understands that it is the gunas that are functioning. Knowing that gunas abide in gunas, he is not attached to anything. He remains detached. He is not affected. Is one of the beautiful verses, which is beautiful in the sense it's so practical. You understand this verse, you will not have a problem in life. All your problems is because you don't know this verse. Learn this verse, any problem you bring in, I will answer through this verse. Now all that he says is, look here, each one will function according to his gunas. A person who understands this has no problem. Now what I can't understand, which is not in the text, is all of you understand with reference to all creatures except human. A very simple way of explaining that is, sir, you know the nature of a tiger. A tiger's nature you understand. So when you go to the zoo, you will not, and it's a beautiful animal. Everybody appreciates. Tiger has got such a beautiful creature. So in admiration, will you ever go to the zoo near a tiger's cage and say, hello, how are you? You wouldn't have done it, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. But you will go to that spotted deer and pet it and feed it. You'll pick up a kitten and fondle it, but you will not pick up a cobra and fondle it. You admire a cobra as much as you admire a kitten. Look at that beautiful hood. Look at the colors. How beautiful it is. Some of the most poisonous snakes have got the most beautiful colors. It is a reason for admiring it. But you keep the distance because you know how dangerous it is. It's poisonous, so you keep the distance. And when there is no need to keep the distance, you pick it up, you fondle it. This you understand with all creatures except human. In the human category, there are cobras, there are kraits, there are king cobras, and there is a mouse, there is a kitten also, very soft, very nice. And all types of human beings, all types of creatures are represented in human beings. No, you have to see that. One fellow is destructive, he is worse than a tiger or a lion. Another person is extremely meek and mild. If you go and beat a cow at the back, it doesn't turn around and say, beg your pardon. It doesn't say, it accepts it. Similarly, you pass a nasty remark against a fellow, he doesn't react, he just keeps going on like a cow. But if you say something against a fellow, the tiger type, God be with you. You will unnecessarily, you just said a word, but 2 teeth are broken. So, what I can't understand is, you don't understand that humans are all different natures. Okay, remember this. Very, very important in your life. All other creatures have a collective vasanas. You understand? All tigers behave in a particular way. All cobras behave in a particular way. All deer, particular way. There is no difference in behavior. They have a collective vasanas, means collective nature. This is not so with human beings. Human beings don't have a collective nature. Here, if you analyze the nature of each person sitting here, every human being is different. No two. Even husband, wife, no world of difference. Every one of you different. But you treat the human beings with a collective vasanas. And therefore you get into problems. Are you understanding? Each fellow has got his vasanas. You understand that animals. Why can't you understand that human beings? There's a lady everywhere I find this problem, but I'm just reminded of a lady in Bombay. For 30 years she's complaining, Swamiji, my husband, I don't know why he's drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. Same complaint for 30 years. You may ask me, why are you going there? They invite me and give me an envelope, that's why I'm going there. Otherwise I won't be surviving. So the same complaint, my husband is drinking something. And that fellow is a very decent chap. He complains, he talks to me. Swamiji, forget, I only drink 1 or 2. 1 only I have. But when she is around, I have a few more. Yeah, nagging all the time. So second, third, I don't hear what she's talking. He is drinking because of her. Now I can't tell her that. But she'll go on complaining, drinking. Another person will complain and say, Swamiji, my husband is a hysterical fellow. Hysterical, frothing and fuming. He been like that day 1 of the marriage. And in his 20 years marriage, hysterical, and she becomes hysterical. You see, it's a question of time. If he comes back from the office and says, where is my tea, where is my coffee, and a little froth, otherwise he'll be calm. Understand that is nature. And if he doesn't do, you must be worried. What happened today? see, each one's nature is different. And if you understand the nature, you don't have any problem. You understand? And otherwise you will be frustrated. In a lecture like this, serious lecture, in a Bhagavad Gita lecture, there's appeal and appeal. Please switch off your mobile now. Please switch off your mobile. But there are specimens who will never switch off. We understand that is a specimen of their own. I immediately, throw the fellow out, and I'll get blood pressure. I understand, it's a specimen. Again you say, even after 5 minutes you will find the same fellow is ringing. You understand? In India only it happens. Nowhere else. In one of the centers, I'm not saying it could happen even in Bangalore, the organizer is saying, ladies and gentlemen, the Swamiji is very particular about this attention, no nonsense here, very, very carefully you must listen, and please keep pin drop silence, and I beg of you, please take your mobile and cut your, switch off your mobiles and keep it in a silent mode. As he is talking, is ringing in his pocket. This is India. This is you can go into Guinness book. So each one's nature, should I get my blood pressure up and say, look here, first you shut off your mobile. So each one's nature, if you understand, there is no problem. Sir, I'll tell you something which happened 60 years back. No, not 60, probably 65 years back, in my school days, and in Madras. It was a very hot summer day, temperature had gone to 108 degrees, and everybody is complaining, whooshu, 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 whooshu. My English teacher came, and he saw this scene, everybody, wah, wah, poo, wah, poo, making a noise. So he came from one door, past his desk, and there's another door into the quadrangle. He went into the quadrangle, open quadrangle, open space. He has never done that. And we were all wondering why he's gone. Then he called us, come here. He just gestured, and we all went. Stood around him under midday blazing sun. Prickly heat we had, the fellows were all bitterly complaining about the heat. And we were all standing around him. And suddenly he put up his arms and says, boys, isn't this a beautiful summer? We thought the students were thinking the fellow is cuckoo, something wrong with him. That's all he said. And he came back to the desk, and what he said that day, 65 years back, has changed my life. I was the only fellow taking notes. Others were all, a mad fellow, he said. A beautiful summer. Go into the sun, he said. So what he said is, each one is different. A drinking fellow will drink. A hysterical fellow will be hysterical. This is the nature of each person. Sometimes wife will be irritable. Some wives are irritable. You decide whether you want to live with a person or some other person. No, you decide, after all, she's a short-tempered person. I have got 3 defects, she's got 1 defect, and I decide to live with my wife. It is all right. What is wrong with it? Huh? Socrates said, if you marry a good girl, you will be happy. If you marry a bad one, you will become a philosopher. So he said that already. So you understand that, different types of people. So then he went on saying, the nature of summer is heat. And then he says, the beauty of the summer is its heat. The beauty of the winter must be cold. The beauty of the monsoon, it must pour. But you fellows want the summer to be cold, winter to be warm, monsoon to be dry. Whose fault is it? It made a lot of sense. And he went on. The beauty of the black man is a black skin. The beauty of the white man is a pale white skin. The white fellow wants to get tanned, and the black fellow wants to become fair. You want the summer to be cold. And he went on. The beauty of the summer is its heat. The beauty of the winter is its cold. And the beauty of my wife is her irritability. So when she's irritated, what a beauty, man. But don't say it loudly because you'll get a slap. So he says, guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjade. So the gunas will function as gunas. Each one has got. So understand the gunas and leave them alone. Each one, if you understand what they are and accept things as they are, you will never have a problem. But the problem that you are facing is, you want the world to change according to what you think is right. You want other people to change to what you think is right. It's prima facie absurd. I ask you a simple question. Are you perfect? You yourself will say, I need to change. I need to rectify certain things in me. I'm not perfect. Each one will say to himself. He won't say to others. Now, when you yourself want to change and you can't change, how can you expect other people to behave according to what you think is right? You think there are certain things that you need to do, which is the right thing to do, and you're not able to do it. And you are expecting others to behave according to what you think is right. It's absurd if you analyze it like that. Then you don't get angry. You understand each one will be his or her own nature, which is called vasanas. See, and then leave them to themselves, Otherwise, you keep on complaining. What happens? Your blood pressure goes up. And ultimately, you have a stroke or a bypass. That's all happens. Unnecessary. Leave the world to itself. Take care of yourself. See, one fellow came to me some time back and said, Swamiji, this world is full of crooks, he said. You don't know, Swamiji. You are in a different level, full of crooks, and particularly India, rascals. He took an appointment, came to me and gave me a lecture, He said, 3 years I was in Calcutta. Fellows are all crooks, Swami. It is terrible, terrible crooks. And then I was transferred to Delhi. Thank God, I told myself when these fellows, Calcutta fellows are crooks. When I went to Delhi, they are master crooks. Master crooks are horrible. 2.5 years I suffered there in Delhi, and they transferred me to Bombay. And he was talking to me in Bombay. Bombay, Swamiji, they are, I don't know, PhD in crooks to the topmost order I have never. And till today, I have not found a single decent fellow. All are crooks in Bombay, Swamiji. I'm listening. Then he went on, and then I appealed to him. There are 1 or 2 people. I'm telling you, till now I have not found a decent fellow. All are crooks. He's talking to me. And desperately I'm appealing. 1 or 2, no exception, Swamiji. Till now, crook means crook. Now what do? I remember this verse. Guna guneshu vartante iti matima. Business people will be with business people. Students will be with students. Gamblers will be with gamblers. Artists will be with artists. Crooks will be crooks. So wherever you go, you will see only crooks. I understood that vasanas are. I said, yes. So very, very useful. Such a person is not attached, means he is detached person. You understand. Cobra will be a cobra. Tiger will be a tiger. Kitten will be a kitten. Similarly, this fellow has his own problem, let him live his life, we can't do, because he is not come for advice, he is advising me. So leave it alone. Those deluded by gunas, qualities of Prakriti, are attached to the functions of the gunas. Now what he's saying is, a person who is deluded by business vasanas. Deluded means he can't see anything else. Business, 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 business. There's nothing wrong with business. But a person deluded, as if life is only business. Such persons will be attached to business. Deluded by the gunas, particular guna of Prakriti, nature, attached to the functions of the gunas. They will be only involved in business and business and business. They will not participate in anything else. Similarly, people who are deluded by gambling vasanas, there will always be gambling, attached to gambling. People who are involved in sports, who are completely deluded by sport, as if that he can't think of anything except that sporting. So each one is deluded, confined to that particular level only. And he doesn't see anything, and he is attached to that particular thing. There are people who are attached to religion. That is the worst thing. And that all the problems are created because of that. Tremendous, and that also that particular denomination. This only will save us. Some deluded by those vasanas, they stick to that only. So the one with perfect knowledge. So such a person who has a perfected knowledge, she should not unsettle the dull-witted whose knowledge is imperfect. Again he's warning. So you understand that each one has got his own vasanas. Just because you've got better vasanas, better understanding, better knowledge, just don't go and bulldozer others. Simply they can't understand. Particularly he says that, especially when I'm talking to you now, you must sympathize with others who are not able to understand whatever you understood. See, assuming that you understand a few things and benefit by it, now you go and blast your people, your friends and relatives and your family and say, what are you doing? You're attached. You can't do that. Just because you've grown, it doesn't mean others have grown. So you've got to understand it sympathetically. Just as, how do you teach children? Children must slowly, they're growing. But you can't bulldoze them and say, you should behave better, you should do this. Children will be children. Similarly, others with less intellects will function. Do not upset them. Mane sanyasya dhyatma chetasa This verse, 30th verse of chapter 3, is the essence of Karma Yoga. This whole chapter is entitled Karma Yoga. If you ask me one verse, and this is it. This is the blueprint of an ideal action. What is the formula of yajna? He said you must perform in a spirit of yajna. What is that? Here he gives that formula, a formula of an ideal action, a perfect action. Sir, he did say in the beginning that you must act. See, we have lost that capacity to act. You must keep on acting till the last day. The Upanishad says 100 years. 100 years. By 35, 40 you are senile. 100 years doesn't mean you retire after that. It is a poetic way of saying indefinitely you must be working. As long as you are living, you must be dynamic in action. You must carry on with the activity. Inaction is death. That's what he's saying. Now he says, what is a perfect action? Sir, everybody looks for success. Wherever I go, Swamiji, please talk about success, success, success. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants productivity, especially the corporate people. They want corporate. See, nobody understands that success is an effect. You're all after success. What is success? Success is an effect which belongs to the future. And every effect has a cause. What is the cause? And nobody asks, Swamiji, what is the cause for success? They only wanted success. Everybody wants success. Now, if you analyze, there is a cause for success. And what is the cause? Right action. And nobody asks, what is your opinion? Or what does the Bhagavad Gita say about a perfect action? What is a perfect action? And here is the formula. See, a perfect action is one. First of all, see, I'm not going into the details of the verse because you'll get confused. But I've derived it and I'm explaining. Later on, you can link it with the words. Now, I don't want to burden you with that. And my book is there on the Bhagavad Gita. You can read that book, and there it gives the word meaning and how I've derived this. There are two things essential in a perfect action. One is the action itself should generate energy. As I've been telling you these few days, your action itself saps your energy. Whatever the cause is. You get tired by the end of the end of the day. And you get more tired by end of the week, so you need a break by end of the week, and after end of the year again, you need a long break. You get fatigued. Action fatigues you, tires you. A perfect action is one which energizes you. The action itself should be energizing instead of fatiguing. Samaj? So, an action which doesn't stand to the test of perfection is one which tires you out. The moment you get to that end, you get tired, get fatigued. But a perfect action is one which the action itself generates energy, number one. Number two, whatever energy you have got already, or whatever energy you acquired through right action, there are three channels of dissipation. Three ways it gets dissipated. You must block those. So it's like filling a cistern, a vessel. So you have three taps. Three taps you open, the cistern gets filled, provided suppose there are three holes. The three holes, however much you may fill, it gets flushed out. So what are the three taps which will fill you with energy? What are the three holes that you must plug so that it doesn't get dissipated? Beautifully given out in this verse. Now he says, how do you act? So the translator says, renouncing all actions unto me, unto the ideal, the self, with thoughts resting on the self, free from hope and attachment, fight means act on without fever. This is the verse. When you read that, you get fever. Fever means excitement, So, how to generate energy? One is through the body, another is through the mind, and another is through the intellect, because you've got three equipments. The first of all, to generate energy, your body must be active. The more active you are, the more energetic you become. The moment you stop actions, you lose your energy. I've given you that example. There are fellows who can afford to have drivers. They don't drive. They can't drive. After a while, maybe after several years, they're not able to drive their own cars. Or anything for that, any action, when they keep on delegating, they are not able to do it afterwards. So you become senile because you want breakfast in bed, lunch in bed, dinner in bed, permanently in bed. You are in the bed. So the body must be kept active, exercises, or even you can combine work with exercise. When the doorbell rings, get out and open the door. There are servants. Let the servants be there. You go and open. When you want a glass of water, get out of your seat and go and get it for your own sustenance. Otherwise, you are finished. So every little telephone rings, go and pick it up. Don't keep... So I know a fellow who has a bell in his table, at home. He will ring the bell. Rama, paper. The paper is lying just 4 feet away. He will call the servant from the other side to come and give that paper to him. Get out of your seat and get that paper. Active. That's what it, body active. For your own good. Otherwise, you find the servants in perfect shape. You are dilapidated. So, secondly, mind must surrender to an ideal. Mind should not crave for your personal interest. You should have an ideal. If you're working for a company, think of the company's prosperity, not your own prosperity. You must also think in terms of the society, of the country. The higher the ideal, the greater the potency, energy. I gave the example of the Germans and Japanese getting together. Tremendous potency. Higher ideal. Mind must surrender. Intellect must focus on that ideal. See, when you focus on that ideal, what happens is there is consistency. All the actions are in one direction. If all the actions are one direction, there is power. Like water flowing in one direction, there is power. Wind blowing in one direction, there is power. Light focused in one direction, there is power. Similarly, if all your actions are focusing in one direction, there is power. So with the body, you keep on acting. Mind must surrender to a higher cause, a purpose, an ideal. Thirdly, intellect must channelize all actions towards that ideal. This is how you generate energy through action. Second, avoid dissipation. There are 3 channels of dissipation. Nirmamaha, nirashihi, vigata jwaraha. 3 words he uses. Without attachment from the past, without worrying about the future, without anxiety for the result of action, and then without excitement of the present action. 3 dissipating channels. You're all the time worried about what happened in the past, anxious of the result of action, and then excitement about the action. 3 channels of dissipation. Now you must cut the past, cut the future, and plunge into the present. When a person is acting, his mind constantly slips into the worries of the past, anxiety for the future. Incidentally, that impoverishes your action and it also tires you out. And you believe that the action tires you. Action will never tire you. It is your worries and anxieties. So, a child is, if you examine a child, any child, it's full of energy, full of action. You can't contain. If you make a mistake of bringing a child here, it will not stay for a while. All the time fidgety. The mother says, "Hey, listen, keep quiet, keep quiet." I can't. It's your mistake to have brought the child here. It's the child that is all the time active. You are not active. You see, for 1.5 hours you are all sitting like Lord Buddhas. Because no energy. Very simple. But if you have all got energy, it will be a real problem. The child has energy. Adult has no energy. How is it? Think. Child has no worries of the past, no anxiety for the future. You have all the worries of the past, anxiety for the future, and therefore your action suffers and you are agitated. You lost the peace of mind, energy, and your action suffers. Evan Lindell won all the championships in the world except Wimbledon, because that particular tournament, he was worried about past failures, he was so anxious to get it, he never got it. I can give you 10 more examples. A batsman goes to bat beautifully up to 90. 90 to 100, he makes series of mistakes. Why? Worried about past failures, anxious to get the 100 finished. That worry and anxiety kills you, kills the action. So therefore, he who works thus, constantly with the body, surrendering to an ideal, an intellect focused upon the ideal, not worrying what happened in the past, not interested in the result of action, such, and not getting excited at the present action, is dynamic. That action becomes perfect. Manavaha, men anudishtanti, practice. Those men who constantly practice this teaching of mine, as I told you, the central theme, 30th verse is the teaching. Of course, the whole thing is teaching, but that particular emphasis to the 30th verse. This teaching of mine, those who constantly practice, full of Shraddha, I'll come back to it, full of Shraddha, translated as faith, full of faith. It's much more than faith. Shraddha has no translation in English. So I would still use the Sanskrit word, full of Shraddha and without cavilling, anusuyanta, without cavilling, without belittling. They too are liberated from actions. They are freed from actions. Now you are all bound by actions. First of all, you don't know that you are bound. Well, how are you bound? You are bound by every little thing. You are bound by profit and loss. You are bound by heat and cold. You are bound by joy and sorrow. You are bound by honor and dishonor. Everything binds you. You don't understand. If somebody honors you, you are very happy. Dishonors you, you are unhappy. Why are you bound by other people's opinion? Everything you are bound. You don't understand. A person is completely liberated when he follows this. What is he saying? Who constantly practices teaching of mind. Get on to the work. Don't worry about the past or future. And surrender to a higher ideal and work. Whatever we have discussed earlier. But you must do with Shraddha. Shraddha is translated faith. Faith, every one of you have. If you didn't have faith, you wouldn't be coming this 4th day. You have faith. This man can deliver the goods, can give me some knowledge, and therefore I better go and learn. This much faith you have. Otherwise you won't come here. But Shraddha is not faith, it's something beyond faith. It starts with faith. First of all, what is faith? Faith is defined, it's defined by endless people, but 2 people have highlighted the definition of faith. One is Joe Goldsmith, other is Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore. Joe Goldsmith says, faith, I'm giving you the definition that Joe Goldsmith gives. He says, faith is a belief in a thing which I do not know until I come to know what I believe in. Faith is a belief in a thing which I do not know until I come to know what I believe in. See, for example, when some of you may not have known me, heard of me, you saw the newspaper, and you come here with faith. You do not know whether the person is knowledgeable. You do not know whether the person is going to help you in this matter. But this is faith, a belief in a thing which you do not know. But after hearing me for several years, there is no faith. It is knowledge. Until you know what you believe in. Once you know, here is a man who can deliver the goods, this is what I need, you don't have faith thereafter. You have no knowledge that this man is exactly what I want. So, Joe Goldsmith, faith is a belief in a thing which I do not know until I come to know what I believe in it. Rabindranath Tagore says, the birds start chirping, singing, early morning before the sun comes up. Dawn is still dark. As if it knows so certain. You may make a mistake, the birds won't make a mistake. So he says, faith is the bird that feels the light and sings while the dawn is still dark. Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. As if it's so sure, so certain that sun will rise. That is faith. So if you want to understand faith, you must understand Joe Goldsmith and Tagore. Then you get an idea of faith. But Shraddha is not just that. With faith you come, utter faith. Yes, this is, I think, is what I want. But it doesn't end there. You come here, take the knowledge, go back to your homes, study it, reflect upon it, absorb it until you make it your own. Shraddha is taking this knowledge until you make it your own. There is only information that is imparted here. Teacher can only give you information, but he can't bring about a transformation in you. The transformation has to be done by yourself. I can't transform you into a better person. But when you take this information and contemplate upon it, reflect upon it, until it brings about a transformation in you, that is called Shraddha. That capacity in you to take the knowledge, reflect upon it, contemplate upon it, digest it until it changes you. When you finish the journey, that capacity in you is called Shraddha. So it's not just faith. So he who practices this with Shraddha, such a person, he will be liberated. Thereafter, he is not bound by anything that happens in the world. In the 30th verse, he gave the formula of right action. And the 31st verse, he says, if you follow this, you'll be liberated. You'll be a perfect human being. Nothing in the world will disturb you. Everything, you'll take it on the stride with perfect understanding. But if you don't follow this wheel of action which I've given you now, if you don't follow this formula that I've given you now, deluded as you are, You will lose your discrimination. Those who carp at this teaching, those who don't say, I have heard this Gita, I know what it is, what you fellows are doing, they carp at this teaching of mine and do not practice it. Deluded of all knowledge, such a fellow is a confused individual and senseless. He's lost all his capacity to think. Such a person, Arjuna, know them to be doomed to disaster. Know them to be doomed to disaster. When Krishna says that, many people have asked me this question, why is Krishna condemning? He is not condemning. He is only narrating a law. If you see, suppose you are walking on the parapet wall, on the 10th floor, terrace, and somebody comes and any sensible person will come and tell you, look here, are you wanting to commit suicide? Are you mad? You will kill yourself. Why are you condemning me? It's a law of gravitation, he's saying. If you slip, the law of gravitation will embrace you to Mother Earth at 32 feet per second, which means you will break your neck. You are finished. So therefore he says this is a law. It's not a condemnation. If you do not follow this principle, you will be doomed to disaster. This is what is happening to people. They are all suffering in different ways, agitations in different ways. They may camouflage it with an external. That is the coconut. You know, you see the coconut, it is so smooth and nice, but inside is all coir and this and that. So a man looks very pleasant outside. And even if you ask me, how are you? Fine. He says, fine. Inside is knotted with attachments and desires. Kills them. So therefore he says, if you do not follow this principle, you'll be doomed to disaster. Meaning, cautioning you against a law of nature. This verse has been condemned by people who don't understand as a very pessimistic verse. It is just the opposite. It is an optimistic verse if you understand what he's saying. What he's saying is, Sadrisham chestase swasyaha prakritim jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraham kim karishyati. You know what he says? Even a man of knowledge, a person of knowledge, jnanavan means a knowledgeable person, acts in accordance with his own nature. Then he says, beings follow their own nature. Bhutani, beings, follow their own nature. Nigraham kim karishyati. What can restraint do? Now what he's saying is, each being will follow its own nature. Tigers will be ferocious. Cows will be mild. They all follow their nature. Similarly, among human beings, each one follows his own nature, which we said earlier also. That fellow who comes and says, crook, 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 that fellow, his nature is like that. A gambling fellow will gamble. A drinking fellow will drink. So each one will follow his own nature. What can restraint do? Restraint means you try to correct yourself, restrain yourself from drinking, for gambling. How can it help, he's saying. So when you read that, you want to close the book. Therefore, why are you fellows here unnecessarily? Because whatever I teach you, you will do whatever you like. This is what he's saying. So if you have understood this, you will walk out. Don't walk out yet. So he is trying to understand it, but it's very clear. Prakritim yanti bhutani nigraham kim karishyati. All beings will will follow their own nature. Each one will follow your own nature. What can restraint do? I am telling you so many things. Do this, do that. Of course, scripture is saying, how can it help? You will be what you are. That's what he's saying. Now, what he's saying is a beautiful indication here is at this moment you can't change. You will be what you are. Not the future he's talking about. See, a teacher, a textbook can give you knowledge. That's all it can do. It can't give you wisdom. No teacher can give you wisdom. Even Lord Krsna is sitting here, he can't give you wisdom, he can only give you knowledge. So the textbooks and teachers give you knowledge. Now with this knowledge, you got to go home or wherever you're going, convert this into wisdom through your own effort, through your own study, reflection upon that knowledge that is given. So when you study, reflect upon it, this knowledge in course of time, depending upon your effort, metamorphoses into wisdom. I repeat, the teacher and textbook can give you knowledge. By gaining knowledge, you can't change. Your personality doesn't get changed. You will still be in the same rut. That's what he's saying. Prakritim yanti bhutani. The bhutani will go on. Nigraham kim karsh. If by restraint you can't change yourself. But when you take this knowledge and carefully think about it, reflect, absorb the knowledge changes into wisdom. The moment you become wisdom, you act. By knowledge, you can't act differently. You change. The change comes only at the wisdom level, not at the knowledge level. And therefore, you suddenly find people who are very, very knowledgeable. You say wisdom, there is not wisdom, knowledge. They may repeat the Vedas, they may repeat the Shastras, they may repeat. When there is no reflection, there is no change at all. Therefore, you don't understand. Why is it some people who are supposedly very wise, according to you, behave differently? Because they have not converted the knowledge into wisdom. Unless you make it your own, you don't change. So therefore, it's an optimistic verse saying that have patience. Take the knowledge, work upon it. It's a question of time. It will change into wisdom when your personality changes. Raga dvesha means likes and dislikes, attachments and aversions. For the objects of the senses abide in the senses. These raga dvesha abide in you, not in the objects. It is subjective, it is not objective. Let no one come under the dominion of these two, for they are your enemies. The worst enemies that you have are your raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha means likes and dislikes. And how are you treating it? Best friends. Now where to talk and whom to talk? It's a waste of energy, I tell you. They are only trying to tell you what is good for you. No buyers at all. Nobody takes it. The worst enemy that you have is the raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. And all your lifetime you are collecting only likes and dislikes. From early childhood you have collected, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this. This you have been collecting. In fact, when you're born with likes and dislikes. It develops, of course, when you're an adult, you have clear liking for something, dislike for something. It's come from previous life. Forget about previous life. Even this life, from the childhood, you started collecting. I like this, I don't like this. Not only you collect, your own well-wishers, your own friends, your own parents, your own Everybody promotes it. You like this, take it. You don't like it, leave it. So you are now a bundle of likes and dislikes. You may say, what of it? These likes and dislikes act like a motor driving your activities. You do what you like to do, and you avoid what you don't like to do. Created by your own. And once you get a partner, how do you choose a partner? Swamiji, I chose him because I like him. I'm not suggesting you should marry a fellow whom you hate. It's not that. But on what basis do you choose a partner in life? I like him, I like her. This is the basis. Entire life revolves under likes and dislikes. And he says they are your worst enemies. Now, fortunately, today and tomorrow, if you listen, he uses 4 words. Paripantinau is the enemies, it means enemies. 4 words. Vairinam, Nitya Vairinam, Shatrum, Paripantinau, 4 words he uses. All meaning enemies, worst enemies. So much emphasis. Today and tomorrow, today we're concluding 1 word, and then he uses 4 words to indicate how deadly are. Still our best friends are likes and dislikes. Sir, first of all, you have gathered likes and dislikes, and you are a bundle of likes and dislikes. So, world cannot cater to your likes and dislikes, unfortunately. You like winter, 3 months you will be happy, 9 months miserable, because you don't like other seasons. You like the food in your house only, so all the time you are traveling, you are miserable, because other food you don't like. So if you carefully list down all your likes and dislikes, world never caters to you, therefore all the time you are agitated. Number 1. Number 2, raga dvesha, likes and dislikes, are by themselves deadly. Because the world can never fit into your pattern. Not only that, what happens, what is deadly about this raga dvesha is, number 1, you don't get it. Number 2, the law of nature is not that I am telling you, the law of nature is what you like immediately, what is like nectar to you now, it turns out to be a poison later on. Not only that, vice versa. What you don't like is beneficial to you. Are you understanding? I know it's pretty late, that's why you're not understanding. I'll bring it up tomorrow again. The fact is, number 1, you collected likes and dislikes, and the world will not cater to your likes and dislikes. Number 1 point. Second point is, the law of nature, law of life is, what you like is always detrimental in the end. You like to laze. You like to sleep late, detrimental to you. In your younger days, you like to waste your time doing all things, don't like to study, detrimental to you. You like junk food, later on detrimental to you. And all those don't like is beneficial to you. You don't like to exercise. It's very beneficial if you exercise, but you don't like it. You don't like to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't talk about it. Early morning you don't like to rise. Most beneficial to you. All that you like is detrimental to you in the end. All that you don't like is beneficial, and you're operating on likes and dislikes. Now whom to tell, where to tell this? Huh? To understand itself is a problem, and how are you going to follow this? Likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha, is in you, man, not in the world, not in the objects outside. Don't be victimized by that. Don't become a slave of your likes and dislikes. Never. Say the moment you like anything, you should be careful. Oh God, this is the worst enemy. You understand? And just because you learn, don't practice this now. Go home to your house and say, hey, a wife says, why are you looking at me? You are a deadly person. I never knew, thanks to Swamiji, because I liked you. You are a Rakshasa. Don't start all that stunts, Try to understand it fully before implement it.
Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo vayamaha.
Another very useful thing, he says, better to do swadharma, even if it's devoid of merit, than paradharma. Swa means one's own, dharma means nature. Stick to your own nature, don't get into para means alien, foreign nature. Don't get into foreign nature activities, though it may be well discharged. I'll come back to it. Better is to die in swadharma. Death is doesn't matter. Never take paradharma activities. It's fraught with fear. It's terrible. So what he means is, you must choose a field of activity according to your swadharma, your own nature. No, that's not what we do. I can recollect hundreds of instances, but one strikes me. An industrialist in Madras, a very big industrialist. The son was interested in mathematics. He was a brilliant mathematician. I mean, he was, because I followed him, I know the family very well, personal friends. And father said, he wanted to do mathematics honors and go to America and do math. He said, no, be calm. Be calm, he first introduced. Commerce, because he wants to join the business. And the boy is saying, Father, please, I want to do mathematics. Be calm. Be calm. Full stop. And then MBA. No, is he inclined? I'm not condemning BCom or MBA, but is he inclined towards that? Is the question. You can't ask a fellow who's inclined in medicine to do engineering. And a fellow who wants to do engineering, what to do? A very eminent doctor here, a specialist. 3 days back, I met him. He's more of a friend now. He told me he's a very eminent specialist here. So he said, his son came to him and said, I want to do engineering. He said, yes, of course. And he's done engineering, did extremely well, and he's flourishing in engineering. Just because you are a doctor, that doesn't mean your children should become doctors. Just because you are business people, doesn't matter. No, they may be inclined, maybe 7 out of 10, I don't know the percentage inclined, then it's okay. But you can't, force a person against his nature. There's one fellow who told me, he's also, he's a doctor, a very famous doctor. He says, my ambition in life, I've got 2 sons. At what age? 4 and 2. The boy, 2 sons, 4 and 2. My first son, I want to be a doctor, second son, engineer. What is this? You're buying vegetables or what? So you can't treat like that. Each one must perform his own swadharma. So frankly, if you ask me, my own life, I belong to a business family. Shipping was our business, and this is, I'm putting the clock back 50 years, and it was a 90-year-old business. And my family sent me abroad, I studied, came back. First thing I told them is goodbye. I want to do this study and research. Fortunately, my father was a very understanding person. He said, better get out before the family catches you. He packed my bags and sent me. And I never turned back. Now imagine me doing shipping business. I would have got drowned in the harbor. You understand, the frustration. No, nothing wrong with business as such. Business is, so similarly, if I don't have a son, if I had a son and I ask him to do the same thing, it will be a torture. He may not be inclined towards it. He may want to do some smuggling activity. That's his nature. So never get into paradharmic activity. It's fraught with fear. Better to die. See, what it means better to die is because, why I took my example is, everything was set. Business was set, 90-year-old business. They educated me. I come and straight away take. It's so easy, so comfortable. Even if it's better, well discharged, it'll be well discharged. But he says, better to die, because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know that there will be a following. I didn't mean to lecture. I just wanted to do research on this subject. No, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. So I of course knew that I wanted to do this study and research. But it may not be conducive for me, because it's not that my guru or my father did everything and laid it for me. So even if it doesn't work out, doesn't matter, follow your swadharma. Never follow your paradharmic activity. I will again deal with it tomorrow before we start the class.